When you stop and think, what does it mean to be American? What do you think? Just take a minute. Most people probably think of the United States, right? And in this course, that's generally what we're going to be talking about as well as the United States. But there's a problem with this term. North America, South America, Caribbean America. Are we talking about indigenous Americans? Are we talking about people who move to the Americas? Are we talking about the United States of Mexico? What are we talking about when we talk about America? It's kind of difficult to define. And we have a lot of different people putting a lot of different spins on this term, American. If you actually talk to a lot of people who aren't from the United States, you'll hear that there is actually quite a bit of irritation from people from our country for using the term American as a national identifier. Because most people in other countries of the Western Hemisphere also consider themselves to be American. For example, they don't call us Americans in other countries of North or South America. They call us United Statesian. And yes, that is very difficult and awkward to roll off the tongue, and it makes perfect sense why we don't use it here. In English, it's very, very awkward. But they consider themselves American too. So this question of identity becomes a fraught one. And you can see that throughout our politics today. Who counts? Who counts as American? When people say things like, this is my country, or we're going to take the country back, for example, there's always this underlying question of from whom and to whom does it belong. So you always want to keep in mind when we're talking about these questions of identity of America, the things that we're going to be reading are always written by somebody and for somebody. Who was the audience? Who is this written for? Who is this written by? What is its purpose? Remember that we are reading literature. We're going to be doing a ton of nonfiction in this class, but that doesn't make it fact. It is literature. In many cases, it's propaganda. So we're going to be talking about that as we go through the course. What is the purpose of this piece of literature? What is the person who wrote it trying to do? Who is it written for? What's the goal? How is it being used to identify American? Who is it excluding? Who is it including? And how does that ultimately come to help us identify this idea of us, our identity, and who and what belongs as American? Just always keep that in mind as you read.